Well, they are certainly legends when it comes to the ice. Olympic champions, world record breakers, and one of the most iconic duos in sporting history. Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean certainly captured the world's attention. It all started with that unforgettable gold medal bolero performance at the 1984 Winter Olympics. And I was saying to Ash this afternoon before Chris and Jane arrived that I can actually remember it. I was 13 at the time, and I can remember being in front of the television and watching it all happen. And now this dynamic duo is preparing for one final bow after more than 50 years of skating together, saying goodbye with their farewell show, Our Last Dance. They've performed in front of literally hundreds of millions of people live and over our screens. And now our Brisbane audiences will get to see them for one last time. And as I said, I'm pleased to say they're joining me here on Afternoons. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Lovely to see you both in the flesh. I said it's so special to have you here and not just be talking to you over the phone. And I know that you're still sort of getting used to the time zone, Jane.
Yes, it's taken a few days. We've been here 3 days, 4 days now.
Oh, don't ask
we
me.
We don't even know, do we?
I know I've got a show on Saturday.
You've got a show on Saturday. Today's Tuesday. You're Jane and you're Christopher. I mentioned this 1984 performance, which I'm sure for you, seems like it was so long ago. But you literally became household names. You just say Torvill and Dean now, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about and why.
I think the Olympics in general is watched by so many people, whether you're into sport or not. And for us in particular, we had been winning European and World Championships in the preceding 3 years leading up to the 84 Olympics. And so within the UK, certainly, it was shown on the television a lot.
Yeah.
But when it's the Olympics, it's shown everywhere.
That's right.
And, we didn't realise at the time, because you're in your bubble doing your thing, that how many people would have watched that. So
I think also what it did for the sport, Christopher. I imagine that when you have success like that, and then when you're able to take that success of that moment and have the longevity that you have, you kind of transcended then that sporting moment to becoming entertainment.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we were fortunate that in what we do, we could then cross over. A lot of sports activities don't go into the realm of entertainment, but we were able to then create our own skating company after that, which actually we put together here in Australia. I mean, we came down originally, our first professional engagement was here in Australia straight after the Olympics. We came down, we thought to do 2 weeks. We ended up staying for 3 months. And then after that, we had the opportunity with some producers in Australia to create our shows. And we spent 9 months after that living down here in the Sydney area.
Yeah, so you're not unfamiliar to Australia. So there was no way that you could do a farewell tour and not include us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that was the whole point of it. And you talked about those Olympics. Every Olympics, there's usually a face or a champion that comes out of it. And I think here in Australia, we got a lot of coverage. I think it was Channel 9 that was doing the coverage, and we got a lot of coverage. And I think when the tickets went on sale for us to come down here, they went really well. That's why we stayed for 3 months.
And then you just mentioned before, and I had not realised that in 1994, so 10 years after that gold medal performance, you came to do the opening of the Boondall Entertainment Centre.
Well, I think it was actually 1986.
Oh, okay.
1986, 39 years ago.
Right.
We were here and we were the first entertainment show in the Boondall. And so that was, it's great because everybody wants to come and see the new building. And so it was a sold out audience. It was great.
And it will be again this weekend. Brisbane is actually the beginning of this leg of the tour of Australia. So it's lovely that you're with us first. And I asked you probably what is a bit of a, I don't know, I didn't want to seem like it was an ignorant question, but I know that they're in the process of laying the ice down for you. And I said, do we have good ice?
And it just depends on the water. The water can make a big difference, the type of water, and then how hard it is. And so how hard you freeze it. We'll often say the ice is too hard and people, what?
Ice is always hard.
Yeah, and it's the surface temperature is really important that we get a nice flowing edge, because in actual fact, when a blade goes onto the ice, it's the friction that causes the ice to melt
So
that
you
causes the glide.
Yeah.
So it's
See?
a lot of technique that goes into it.
When will you have a practice before the weekend?
We will have some training. We had some training yesterday, and we will have another training session on Thursday with the
We
company.
get on the ice on the Friday.
But in Boondall, it'll be Friday.
And how many people are a part of the show, Jane?
There are 15 cast.
18, 17 in total.
So, 17 with you.
And then we have 4 Australian skaters. We have
Fantastic.
2 little Chris and Janes, because
It's
the,
like
the
a-
whole show is about our life.
Yeah.
And so we start off right from the beginning when we first were put together on the ice. So we sort of recreate that moment right the way through until, a bolero.
How old were you when you were first put together on the ice?
About 15.
Yeah, I mean, we started skating when we were 9 and 10, and we knew each other
Just from
all
being in
that
the same
time.
rink. Yeah.
But it was only as we reached 15 years old that we started skating together.
Even before the gold medal performance
You're not doing the math now, are
No,
you?
no, it doesn't matter. It's just a number. But even before that gold medal performance in 1984, was there a moment when you both realised that the combination was right? You say you knew each other, you then get put together and they think, oh, this is going to be a great pairing. Let's see how you work together. Did you get a sense, Jane, that it felt like this was the right match for you guys at that time?
I don't think we thought that far ahead. I think when we were first put together, I think we both realised that we both had the same passion for it, and we were very disciplined and wanted to work hard. And I think previous partners that we'd had weren't at that level of really wanting to achieve.
Yeah.
And so we just worked for the next competition that we were going to do, and then moved on to the next competition. And gradually,
It was
before-
incremental, wasn't
we
it?
were British champions all of a sudden and representing our country at the 1980 Olympics, which was very exciting.
And as much made of, obviously, life goes on outside of skating for both of you, but you clearly have had a business together. You've continued to have to train together. Were there periods where you had extended time apart and you missed one another?
Well, we've always spoken on the phone every day or every other day.
Really?
No matter where
If we're not
we
in
are.
the same country or
I
the
lived
same
in
city.
America for 23 years, but we would call each other all the time. But in actual fact, in 1998, we decided that we were going to finish skating then, quietly retired, didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And we went away. But then ITV in the UK, TV company, called up and said, we're thinking of doing this little thing called dancing on ice. Do you think it will work? And we said, absolutely not. Anyway, we did the first year, and then it went on for 17 years after that.
Yeah.
So dancing on ice really gave us our second win, the latter
because
part of our career.
They wanted us to perform within the show. We were choreographers, and then more lately we were judges on the show. But they always wanted us to perform, and we did. I don't know how many performances over the years,
Over
but
80.
yeah, it brought us back together in that respect. And then we realised we actually do enjoy performing.
Yeah. I've got to ask you about the physicality of it. Even just today on the show, I was just speaking to an associate professor in the last hour about this study that just talks about any movement, incidental movement, and how great it is for brains, particularly in midlife and later in life. This is such a physical pursuit that you're both now, decades into. How do you prepare for that?
It gets harder as you get older and the body gets stiffer. And so we have to work on staying fit. We go to the gym, we stretch, we have physios, we watch what we eat, we don't burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
All of those things that we did when we were younger, except for we drink a little bit more wine than we used to.
Purely medicinal.
Yes.
Can you do a lot of the same moves?
Well, we started preparing for this tour last July, didn't we? A year ago, and started training by ourselves before we got the professional skaters. And we were working out which parts of our past competition programs we were going to do. And we thank goodness for YouTube, because it was over 40 years ago, some of these programs. And to think that you're trying to recreate them again, it was like, whoa. And there were some moves that we said, we don't need to do that.
We need to do age-appropriate moves now.
But muscle memory is an extraordinary thing, though. Have you found that a lot of it came back to you very quickly?
Not at first. Not
Really?
at first, because it was, I don't know, you have certain parts of the programs. And I think because since then, as professionals, we've done so many routines.
Yes.
But there are definitely parts of
I think what happens, it's the little connecting parts that you don't always
Yes,
remember.
yeah.
Remember the big moments, but you said, how do we get from that to that?
Yeah.
Are you still throwing her around a little bit
Oh,
up in
yeah.
the air and all of
Oh,
that?
yeah.
That's all still happening?
We do our best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another reason why you don't want the ice to be too hard. It has
That's
to be
correct.
just
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the first show this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Every time we go out to perform, you get the nerves.
Yeah.
You get the excitement. It's those sort of nerves of like tension, but you're like a racehorse ready to go. And so when the countdown, we have this, when the house lights go out and the music starts, there's this countdown, 10 to 1. And, everybody backstage sort of gets really revved up for it. And here we go, and poof, out it comes.
I think the other thing is that you can't underestimate that you will look out and there will be literally 3 generations of a family who will be there enjoying you together. And that is really special. And I think one of those moments in life that very few performers get to really appreciate.
Yeah, no, it is nice when, we get to meet some of the audience afterwards that, they say how
I think
much
grandmas bring their
grandmas
daughters and
bring the
daughters bring their daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one story where a lady said she brought her mother, who's quite elderly, with poor mobility, but she was determined, it's probably in her 80s, determined to, she'd never been to an arena to watch anything before, but she was determined to come. And so she said, I can't believe we got my mother here to watch you, but she enjoyed the show so much.
That's lovely. There were a couple of questions that came in to ask you how your bodies are holding up. So I think we've covered that. There was also a question from a listener, and this is where I must have got 1984 in my head, because she said that she saw you in 1984, and then she says due to illness, sadly, she won't be able to see you this time. Will there be a DVD of the show?
Yeah, we're not sure. And the other thing is, we don't know whether DVDs are out there.
Maybe
It's
YouTube.
streaming now.
Yeah,
maybe it's
maybe YouTube.
Netflix or something like that.
Oh, how awesome would that be? A Netflix special. That might
Yeah.
have to be. So I'm not sure where you are in terms of the tour. Have you been performing elsewhere and now we're in Australia and then you're going to go somewhere else?
We started in the UK.
Okay.
So we went all around the UK.
Done that. Tick
We've had
that.
a 3 weeks gap and getting everybody down to Australia.
Yes.
We're doing Australia. Then after that, we're going back to our hometown in Nottingham to do our final performance.
And what date will that be?
July the
July.
14th.
Okay. Oh, so you've only got, because I was doing,
I'll be there on the 12th. If you're going on the 14th,
I've
we'll
missed
see
it.
each other.
okay, it's July the 12th. Just, will you have a little bit of time off to be able to enjoy Australia and catch up maybe with some old friends when you finish? The last show here will be in Sydney on the 22nd of June. Will there be a little gap for a bit of a holiday?
Yeah, I'm staying on for about 5 days, 5-6 days with my husband and family, and you're heading off to Dubai for a little break, aren't you?
Yes, we're in desperate need of some sun. So we'll go there. But
We have sun.
I would say that I'll be back in Australia again.
Well, I do so hope that you are
Oh,
back
we
in
love it
Australia
down
again,
here. Yeah.
although it may be without your skates, certainly in a professional
It certainly will be.
And once you hang those up, I'm sure that you will miss it, as will those who love watching you skate will miss it. So it's wonderful that you're here to be able to do this farewell tour and that your fans are going to be able to come and enjoy that this weekend. And if you haven't got your tickets, there are still some, not many, available. If you're looking for more information and tickets to see Torvill and Dean, Our Last Dance, it will be happening this weekend at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, Saturday the 14th, Sunday the 15th. And for tickets, you can head to torvillanddean.com. All the very best to you both. And thank you once again for coming into the studio.
Thank you.